second year students that you saw now will be our 20th graduating class. Studying first engineering, then literature. I ended up in France, in Grenoble, studying, and as a writer, say, at that time, I started studying pantomime to see how much a dramaturge can say without words. And then meanwhile, hitchhiking around Europe, we're talking about the early 70s. It was the big family, small car syndrome. So you'd spend a lot of time on the side of the road.
Okay.
So I picked up 2 rocks and learned to juggle just out of boredom. When I eventually go back to the States and as people from New York do, swim upstream to Boston, and spend some time there, and I got into a class where I eventually got offered work as a summer job performing. And at some point I hooked up with this other guy. We got up to Paris the year Pompidou Center opened, and here we started a little juggling club, which is the Association de Malabaristas. You can see
Still exists, right?
This is the project of. So you see the name of Carampa is the AM, Asociación de Malabaristas. Y Carpa is a tent. So it's the AM's project inside its carpa. So it's literal.
Oh, that's so cool.
It sounds like caramba, it's got this musicality and stuff. And so we organized some juggling festivals and had to eventually rent a tent for the juggling festivals. And we could rent it for like $3,000 for a weekend, and they sold it to us for $6,000. So we said, okay, well, we said yes. And then once we had the tent, we took it here because we had friends here in this youth hostel. And we put it up for a while when we would do an event, a weekend encounter or workshops or whatever, and then we'd take it down. And we started getting used to it. They started getting used to it. We started realizing what it meant to have it up, and realized that the big demand for ourselves, was to have a quality education program. At one point, what I call the surprise effect, 2 people showed up. One is our program director, who is an Olympic judge, still today, Olympic judge, or first category gymnastics judge. So all of a sudden, bring me a curriculum, and she was champion of Argentina, an Olympic judge, and a trainer of trainers. All of a sudden, we had this person super qualified as a part of the team. The same thing happened with with Vasily, and he comes from the Moscow Circus School, and he proposed things that we needed, and so very quickly we had a better teaching staff than we had a right to imagine having. Right? And we started getting students from all over the place, and there are countries where we are recognized to receive grants to study here. Full grants, school fees and living expenses for 2 years. We have none of that in Spain, so it's easier for somebody to come here from Colombia with a grant than somebody from just outside of Madrid. That's the reality of arts education now in Spain. But over the 20 years, we look at the list, and we have reason to look at it now and again and see where the people who graduated here are, and 80% are still working in the circus world. And some of them are in notable places, and some of them have chosen other less notable paths, whatever. But for me, if circus is what you want to do and you find a way to live from it, all choices are legitimate.
A lot of this is a particular collection. That I begin with sideshow. I had a strong feeling with sideshow, and then I get this collection. The students use this like a theoretical room. So all the classes, anatomy or theoretical classes, it's here. It's open Wednesday and Friday for the public and for the socios associated, and not too much people use it. 20 years ago, when we had all this in video in VHS, then a lot of people use it. Now with YouTube and with all internet, not too much people use it. just the special people who call, or they are doing something in the university or something like that.
When I entered the FedEc, there were 12 of us. Because I was from a non-French speaking country, they were very interested in our participation, our voice. Because the first group of schools were the bigger schools, they were interested in somebody from a solid but not superior level school project to defend the interests of our schools. They really have no idea, the bigger schools, they have all their teachers are public employees, so they don't have to do any of the stuff that I have to do. I have to get 25, 30,000 euros in the bank at the end of every month, and they don't have to deal with that. And we have a kids program, we have a school program, we have a program for children with discapacity. We have events, we do shows, we do, so it's like a much broader range of activities, which is nice, but it's also just to stay alive. For us, being in the FedEc was a huge learning experience. At some point, we had to sort of reinvent. The FedEc had a period where it was supposed to be registered, but it had never been registered, and so we had to reinvent. And we did. We made a entrance application in which people had to describe their programs. So my program was just starting. So they said, "Who's going to read them?" I said, "I'll read them." And so all of a sudden, I was able to read 6, 8 schools, how they organize their time and get feedback. Everybody does it in their own way, but there were general principles which allowed me to know the weight of different contents in the school program. Basic acrobatics and physical education training, the backbone stuff. Then there's specialty training, and then there's performing arts training. Okay, and so I added them up, all of these different schools. I sort of divided their program into these 3 different categories, and it came out 30, 30, 30. Right, and then 10% is theoretical classes, history of nutrition, anatomy, all the other stuff. But then I went back and looked, and nobody had a 30, 30, 30. Right? It was an average, and you could sort of see the decisions a school made by their deviation. Okay, so a school like Lido in southern France, which is mostly a creator school, said, we really want to spend more time on creation. We need 35 or 40% of our time on that. And all of a sudden the other two drop down to 25. And so you see the decision they've made just by looking at the numbers. Right? So, being in the FedEc was for lots of different reasons. Security, in the entrance application, what are your security protocols? Be careful. My vocabulary didn't go beyond that. And make sure that the people who are using the apparatus know what they're doing, and be careful. And all of a sudden they brought in an expert to explain what risk prevention means, what risk assessment means. And so as a FedEc, we were able to bring in people much more knowledgeable than I would have been able to bring as an individual school. So there really was a group construction process, and as much as most of our countries had only 1 or 2 schools, we needed each other. We had to sit down together just to chat, how many hours does a teacher give in the tent for it to be a full-time contract? Right? I don't know. Right? I know what I can tell you in a university, I can tell you in a high school, but I can't tell you in an art school. So, there was all this sharing of knowledge which made the whole circus arts teaching sector grow together. There were discussions about what a professional school is and what a preparatory school is. The big schools look at your level in your specialty. Okay? Does that mean that I should just be doing specialty work here, or do I give a general education? Right? And our decision is in first year to give everybody everything. At one point, this town just outside of Madrid, they decided to build this arts complex, mostly looking for a arts complex for schools more than just for performing spaces. We want people walking in and out of these doors all day, every day. And so they included circus as a part of that complex, and then they lost the election just before cutting the ribbon. And it's been unused for the last 8 years because, right? And the people who built it have just returned to the government, and we're waiting to see what their plans are, but we know that they are open to continuing with developing this arts complex, but we don't know if they want to do it as a municipality or find somebody to do it. And That's where they are right now.
Oh my God! And
And
so this building
this is-
exists?
No, but this building exists. It's already finished.
It's been empty.
So this is the complex. Yeah, this was a few years ago, and this is more or less the front of the complex as it is now.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
the ring. That's the rigging structure
Uh-huh.
above the space.
Oh,
This is the
theater.
performing space. We have this building, which was built and which was going to be a major step forward as far as the quality of installations and therefore the quality of the education we can offer. We have presence now in the university, so we have coverage to be a superior level school, and we're sort of fighting the path to bring all that together, right? Being public education, the university level, with different kinds of funding, it means that kids don't have to tell their parents to go to hell when they want to study circus, right? One of the major things about being official is that the student who chooses to do circus says to his parents, it's university, I'm getting credits. If I want to do something else later, I still have those credits. The finish the job is sort of what I would like to get done before I leave in 2 years or 3 years, whatever.
Yeah. That would be your legacy. So move on.
And if we were able to get into that building or another one, instead of here in the tent, we wouldn't abandon the tent.
That's what I was going to ask,
No,
because
no
the tent
way.
probably has a lot of significance to you.
First, a lot of significance. Second, when we work, we have 2 mornings a week where we get the older kids out and we do school groups because it predates our professional program.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't kill that program, which is another 8 or 9 teachers, just because we started a different program. We had to accommodate it. They by no means is creating future artists an objective of a children's program.
Yeah.
It's enriching the life of a child through circus activities.
Yeah.
End of the story, right? And we have had a few who've gone on to become students in the school. But, it's just a happy corollary, right? We need this space, and if we had more time for children's groups and we had more time for special needs groups, for physical diversity, there are no activities being offered to these groups in Madrid, and when they come here, they are happy.